Hello, internet friends, and welcome to episode number 209 on this Thursday, the 23rd of January, 2020. Maybe the second, if not third show in the history of this entire production that I have ever moved days, but when some guests are out of town and busy, when other guests are unable to do it because the patch is dropping and they're too busy, or when another guest is dying slowly but has recovered. Today's show is that one. We're talking about Havoc Demon Hunters and the 8.3 Melee. And it'll work out pretty well, I think, because we've got some information now. We're 2 days post the new raid. So Ny'alotha has been out, got some normal and heroic, we got all this stuff going on, we got corrupted gear, we're farming World Quest blues. And of course, we'll talk about all of that today. But a big shout out to those nerds and ladies that are supporting the show, the stream, and everything in between. Keeping it rolling over on the show's Patreon page. Thank you very much to the January patrons. And if you would like to get some more of this here show on the internet, there is more of it, but a little bit more of it. And there's some behind the scenes stuff. There's exclusive art that comes out every tier. And there is a few more things that you can check out there over on the show's Patreon page. Links down below, of course, here on Twitch. Links down below if you are on the YouTubes. So you can go for that. We're at 72 behind the scenes podcasts, 28 BTS images, a couple of different things. And more, of course, on the horizon. But if you, of course, miss any of the live show, everything is archived over on my YouTube channel. Also, of course, linked where links are. Posting all the heroic videos right now as I get them out there. Starting the 2020 playlist for the next year. Of course, all the past playlists are right down there at the bottom if you would like to check out. And, of course, the beta testing will start soon enough. But on top of that, of course, just to keep the pre-roll here under 4 minutes, but I have something right next to me that is important that I mentioned just for a moment here. So FinalBossTV is now partnered and sponsored by Corsair and Elgato, and I re-signed for 2020 with Corsair. And through your assistance, of course, and your help for growing this channel and everything with them, I actually was promoted in Corsair. But more on that later. Today, literally today, the new Scimitar RGB Elite. You may be familiar with this mouse. The Scimitar itself is the multi-macro buttons on that thumb side of the mouse, that MMO mouse style. I remember it mostly because Bajira's face is on it, but they sent me one. It's right here. I'll be trying this out on stream. It is not a mouse I've ever really used before. So I'm going to give it a whirl, and I'll let you guys know, of course. It'll probably be mostly a thing when I talk about it when I get back from the Race to World first. So this will sit here until then, and then we'll give it a whirl. But the fact that the buttons on the side now are all mostly, it's adjustable for your hand, because I have the claw grip where I hold the whole dang mouse. We'll give it a whirl, though. But if you are looking for the next step in the MMO mouse, and maybe your Scimitar is old or you haven't tried one before, links down below in the fiddly-doo. But that's enough about me. Today, Havoc Demon Hunter. Chat, you are one of the guests today, so don't let me down, because this guy is on the show. Kib, you've been here before, but how many memes will you mention on the show today? And if it's any less than a dozen, then we'll just cancel right now.
Well, I'm counting my memes in Infinite Star DPS now. So.
Oh, and how much is that then?
Who knows? It depends how lucky you are, you know? That's why you farm blue World Quest pieces.
Or you spend gold, like you've done. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Are you farming blue World Quests, Rusah? Welcome to the show, sir.
I'm doing pretty much every World Quest. You know, AP, rep, you name it. They're not hard to do. You roll through, get them all done in like 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Per zone. I don't mean all of them.
thought you were doing some weird nonsense. 5 minutes per world quest. What are you talking about here? I don't know about that. But yeah, that's the hot take right now, Chad. If you're not doing every armor world quest, not Azeroth world quest, that can't corrupt, but every trinket, ring, boots, pants, bracers, you have to do all of them. Because any of them can roll infinite stars. And even 60 eye level down blue gear with infinite stars, huge DPS increase, because that's the world we live in now.
Weapons are worth doing too to try to get a Lash of the Void
It's
for
very
your offhand.
Yep. Unless I don't have the ability to bring this up right now on stream. Did you see? I mean, Rusah, you saw this, right? Because it's in our Discord. The fake simmed image of the green two-handed sword with infinite
Well,
stars.
it's not a fake image. It's a real sim.
I haven't seen that. Let me go look at that.
It's in the Shambro channel. I didn't want to look at it. But it's a level 10 green sword with infinite stars compared to a
Oh boy.
460 epic sword. Guess which one wins?
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
The item is fake, but the sim is real. It's to prove a point. Sure. Yeah, the item is obviously fake because you can't. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I tweeted the raid bots link to it the other day, and people realized really quickly what happened in that link.
Right. Well, you've also tweeted out 2, or have you done 3? I think you've done 2 cloaks.
Close, yeah.
Yeah. I guess cloaks don't leave the loot table until next Tuesday.
Well, they can still drop from the end dungeon chest, but
Sure.
not from the weekly chest starting next week.
Right. So, but still, getting one this week. If you get an infinite
Feels
stars
bad.
cloak, would you still wear it over?
Yes.
You probably still wear it over your other cloak, except on Ny'alotha, I guess.
Yeah, I'd wear it on outside of the divisions and the
Yeah.
2 Ny'alotha fights, but yeah.
Oh gosh, it's so strange.
Like, you gotta follow the raid bots.
Well, I don't know. I mean, sometimes some of it isn't working properly, but I guess we'll get into that as we go through the show today. But I guess right back at it, Rusah. You haven't been on the show in a while, so some people don't remember who you are. So who the heck are you? What dabbling do you do in the World of Warcraft, and how long have you been part of said dabbling?
I'm Rusah. I do some Simcraft development for shamans, enhancement specifically. I've been doing that for quite a few years now. Did a lot of work in Legion, late Warlords. I tend to get interested in the nitty gritty of whatever spec I play. For a while, I was doing some theory crafting. For all of Legion, I did theory crafting for Survival Hunters. I was the only one doing that. I do some stuff, I do a little bit of stuff for Havoc. This expansion, if I'm maining it, I'm curious, and I kind of have to unravel things. So,
Okay. Any shout outs you need to throw out there too on who else also digs into all those numbers as well, sort of part of the crew?
tons of people that have helped me with all of those specs. I've labeled Purge/Surge as he's gone by in the last couple of years. Another enhancement shaman. Ryeth, another Demon Hunter / enhancement shaman. Word Up, who just plays everything. Those guys have helped me a lot with either reminding me of things or different ideas or just helping research.
And how long have you been doing the melee stuff in World of Warcraft now? How long have you been playing melee?
Cataclysm.
Okay. That's I think it's long enough to have the cred. So I'm getting weird looks on YouTube or sometimes on stream because I've been doing the melee thing for 11 years, 12 years now. But this entire tier I'm playing Elemental Shaman to challenge myself to learn and play the game as ranged. So that's why when it comes into the stream, like, oh, he's on his shaman again, but he's throwing meatballs. We haven't had that spell on enhancement since Warlords, so.
And it hasn't been a part of the rotation since Firelands.
Yeah. And Kib, people might know who you are, but if you want to exposiate on the same questions, how long you've been doing this, and I guess, do you want to caveat this by saying that all the work that you do for Havoc is, how do you do all the work you do for Havoc? Because you're not playing it right now, and why are
Yeah.
you?
Like, yeah, I've been dabbling with Havoc stuff since like Legion Beta, and yeah, just helping out with the some APL stuff here and there, and mostly doing the Discord as well, and just coming out with ideas here and there. Back in Legion when I mained it, did a bunch of like animation canceling shenanigans and
I remember.
stuff like that. But yeah, now it's it's much behind the scenes, since I don't really main it anymore. I play a warlock now, still purple, but
What?
yeah, it's
It,
mostly behind the
it
scenes stuff.
counts.
What, Rusa? It still counts.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
It's broken and it's purple, so it might as well be Havoc.
there you go. I mean, your name is right here on the Wowhead Havoc guide, so you still
That is true.
maintain and keep this together. But is this mostly a labor of love by you alone, or is there a bit of a team or a couple other people that actually help you curate this and bring this up every patch? And
It's mostly me, but the information there is like in regards to gear and rotations and essences and stuff is basically powered by Simcraft. So everyone that helps out and gives a hand with the modules for Havoc and everything basically has a part in it as well.
yeah, just scrolling through the stuff right now that changed for 8.3, quite a little bit of stuff. So of course, if you need that back end resource, hitting up the Wowhead guide. Yep. I know I was checking a little bit, but since my Demon Hunter is now my main ult, as it should be, and I'm playing my Shaman again, there are certain sticking points that I'm definitely missing. Like doing visions as a ranged and as a Shaman period is definitely not as... I blitzed through so many +2s the other day with a Lobi cloak on Havoc just because nothing is scary on Havoc. But you play Elemental Shaman, you're like, okay, Stormkeeper's down for this pull. I don't have Primal Earth Elemental up either, so I'm playing 3 mobs, or I'll die. Or I'll just never kill them, or it'll be really scuffy. But Havoc's like, just give me the whole Cathedral District. Bring it all in. Bring it in. Bring it in. But that's how the spec is. This title of this, and potentially the title of the YouTube video when I get around to naming it, is the best melee added to WoW ever. So I want to dive into 8.3 and all the goop that is Havoc oriented, not Gwyneth Paltrow's goop, just Havoc's, is been kind of a bit memey since Legion came out. I think it was a lot more like unknown back then, but now it's been a little more solidified. So what are you guys thinking of the patch so far? How's Havoc playing out? I don't know if you want to give a nod to the whole guaranteed rain spot nonsense. Just what is your take on this? Rusa, you're playing the spec right now. How's your last week and a half been in the patch?
I mean, really the same as the rest of the expansion. You just kind of walk through content, you I-beam it, move on. Nothing's really difficult. Even, people playing alt Demon Hunters in the guild that, are like 30, 40 item levels behind. They're 410, 420. They're all saying, hey, this is a joke. You walk into major visions or you walk in to do your group visions on a Demon Hunter and you can just solo 2 mediums and like it's nothing, just like full health the whole time. It's so as far as the class itself goes and playing it, like everything's pretty easy. As far as like the Demon Hunter for like the new content, it's pretty fun. I mean, the mobility's nice, lots of utility.
Do you think, I'm going to caveat that real quick here, because I have horrific visions down, corrupted gear, new essences and things, but to the first point is, what camp are you in on? Is Havoc just too good though? I know like Fury Warrior kind of feels like Havoc does sometimes with the healing and the pull things and AoE, even though the joke about Fury Warrior is it doesn't matter how many mobs I pull, I'm only going to AoE 4 things at a time, whereas Havoc hits everything at a time, so the whole AoE trash pulling stuff for time and momentum in these events is way easier. But is it that weird sense of that Blizzard made the Demon Hunter so strong to get people to play it? Or how does that work within the player base, right? It's just such a well-made kit. It's got raid utility, raid cooldown, mobility, immunity, defensive, self-healing. Is it missing anything? What?
It's not really missing anything. It has too much. Most people would say.
I mean,
When you compare it to like everything else, it just has everything.
Yeah.
I could argue it's missing an activatable cooldown that makes Annihilation a 40-yard range, but you know, like,
Well,
but I mean, the reality is, yeah, I mean, it's a complete kit, and then you slap the amount of leech you get from meta, and 30-second demonic meta cycles, and it's just like nothing's a threat. You know, if they had everything they have and no leech, I could at least say, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of damage. There's a little bit of risk, but you have lots of buttons you can hit. But then you slap like an insane amount of leech on top of it, and it's just like it should be one or the other.
Yeah, we're at 40% leech right now with the talent, and that's down. How much did we have in Legion? Was it 60? It was even more.
it was more, yeah. I think you had 100 with the talent, but
With the talent.
I don't remember baseline what it was.
So
It was above 50 for sure, though.
yeah.
There's a certain point though where a 15-20% reduction in the leech amount is sort of immaterial when you're capping your health bar with either number anyways.
Yeah.
We don't need 40% at leech. You could have 10% and it would still be probably more than enough.
Yeah. That's a lot. But then how about I don't know, there's much to say here. You've got all the essences broken down in the guide, Kib. If anything really happened there as sort of a footnote for essences, or any major shakeups?
Not really. Like CLF got nerfed, but it's still pretty good single target. It's still out there. AoE, you basically use Iris because Iris and haste scaling and all the shenanigans. And the only big difference is you'll have to wait 5 years to get rank 3 Breath of the Dying because
Yeah.
you get like peanuts for rep reward. I guess they kind of fixed that yesterday or the day before where they buffed the rep rewards, but yeah, Whirlwind is nice now a little bit, but you need everyone to run it, so you gotta convince everyone to use it with you. But for the most part, Essence remain unchanged really. Beside Brett, that can be a thing on like quick target swap because of the prog, but then you need rank 3 for that to happen. But that's basically it.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Breath of the Dying as a minor just for combating corruption is fine, but the rank 1 and rank 2 are definitely not as palatable as the rank 3, just from the because rank 2 doesn't give you any damage, it just adds the heal. But then rank 3 is a 400% increase in the proc rate for the execute component. So it's a giant jump. But that's
it's basically doubling the value.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 4 times the proc rate for the last 20%. So you're looking at the same amount of procs in the last 20% as you're going to get leading up to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we saw how ridiculous it was for the first couple of days of the patch when rank 1 was bugged and was behaving like rank 3. It was extremely broken, but they fixed that now, so you just got a little preview, and now you'll get the real thing in 5 years.
Is it actually like 7 or 8 weeks
Yeah,
to get it.
it's a couple of months. Yeah.
Whoa, yeah, that's. I mean, it's fine because that essence, coupled with sort of how the cloak upgrades and the cloak proc will eventually get, those are sort of
Right.
the external ways to nerf the content we're in,
Yeah.
instead of just like
It,
everything is weaker by 5% or some crap.
yeah, it works. It's just unfortunate that the quest that you get gives so little.
Sure. Yeah, they definitely bumped it up. I thought it was a weird point. So if you didn't know this just yesterday, well, it was with the maintenance that happened, I want to say,
Yeah.
this week. More coalescing visions drop, not 50, but 250 for the dailies now in all the zones. And they also give a little more rep for each as well. So now it's not as not important, if that makes sense. Before, you didn't really have to, Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on your region, big reset day, do all this stuff in both zones. Same thing on your Friday or Saturday, and then you could basically keep up with it. But now it kind of pushes you, if you're going to min-max, to do it every single day now, because you do get an extra big boy vision a week.
There were a lot of people that were electing to just completely skip the dailies and just go do more islands. They just weren't doing them.
Yeah.
But yeah, now you can't really ignore them anymore.
You kind of have to do them now. Yeah.
Yeah. So how about, I sort of had like a general topic on here. What sort of grind or prep for the raid list are you going through? And Rusah, I know that you are in BDG now, or at least for a little bit now, and you may or may not be on kind of the world stage here next week in some way, shape, or form. Are you guys shifting how much preparation you're doing in this patch, or are you just kind of going through the checklist every single day? Is there anything that sort of cropped up recently that you're like, oh, we should do this? What are you guys doing for the raid prep?
I mean, we're not doing anything too insane. We're mostly focusing on player sanity over, you know, super optimizations. A lot of it is just making sure that people are getting their islands done, they're getting their dailies done. We're putting a lot of focus on success in the heroic visions. So, you know, just trying to make sure people are engaged and actually playing their characters leading up to the raid, and that everyone's prepared.
Okay.
Mostly just focusing on individual, achievement and contribution.
Mm-hmm.
And Kib, how is that for you guys, your guild?
Pretty much similar. Just do your 3 islands a week, do your AP World Quest, and then know what the mechanics of the boss are, and nothing really fancy. It's just the same thing as always, except now everyone's farming trash in the raid because that drops corruption gear. So
Right. Okay. That's what I was basically trying to segue in, is that where would you put that on the list of important stuff to do? Would you put that above Mythic Plus farming and farming 6s? Or
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I would do like your open world stuff, like your AP World Quest, because those goes away.
Sure.
Then basically do the stuff that goes away first before it goes away, and then farm trash. Basically, is what I would do for this week.
And
Next week it's different, but yeah.
Right. Well, that's the do 15s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next week you'll be farming 15s for a big gear.
But corrupted gear, you speak of, I'm going to bring up a chart real quick here. And in different ways, depending on what you've soaked up through Discords or through the guides or on Twitter feeds or raid bots or wherever else, Blood Mallet, etc. You may have seen charts like this, because we're in an interesting place where obviously eye level now is not as important in some ways. Eye level is eye level, or in some cases, eye level is not even a factor because you can wear blues right now that have some of these traits on them. I don't know which one of you wants to speak to the corrupted gear system first. Kib, I know you have shared some opinions on what you think this should have been and how it's almost there. But
yeah, I mean, personally, I think the the system at the core of it is I wouldn't say I like it, but I think it's better than Titan Forging. But since not all the item drop corrupted, it's worse than Titan Forging. That's basically it for me. If everything would drop corrupted, since the patch is like all about the corruption stuff, make everything drop corrupted, and then you players have a choice basically into like, do I want this? Do I don't want that? And cleansing is basically free. So there would still be some like RNG, like, oh, I got like Lash of Void or Infinite Stars or Gushing Wounds versus like, hey, I got like Avoidance. But if everything drops corrupted, then at least you can just go through the process and you'll get what you want eventually. Whereas right now, you just go through the process because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah. There's a Demon Hunter in my guild that got a 415 ring, blue, from a world quest with Gushing Wound on it. And took off a 460 with a socket, I want to say, because he had 2 socketed rings on. Took off the ring to drop down to a Gushing Wound blue because it's a huge upgrade. Just because the power of these damage procs is so big. When you're figuring out the math for these, Rusah, you guys have been sort of working on this in different ways. Should they, I mean, there's obviously a bit of a step ladder with these, but when you're trying to figure out the numbers and parse this information, were you expecting these to be more in line? Were you expecting them to kind of seem like there was like a tier list of them? There's going to be some that were garbage, some that were good, and some that were obviously the strongest. And were you expecting them to be 20 to 30% of a player's damage, unlike a trinket, which is like 5 or 6%, which I thought they were aiming at when I first read about this months ago?
The middle range stuff kind of ended up about where I thought it was going to be. And that's sort of where I thought most of the system was going to lie. Where we ended up with having, 4 to 5 powers that are, enormously more powerful than the others, I think is just it's hard to quantify exactly how that ended up being the case. Either it's a case of they wanted weapon corruptions to be very, very good because they're limited. So things like Lash of the Void, but then you have stuff like Infinite Stars, Echoing Void, Gushing Wound that can end up on any piece.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it's a case of, maybe something didn't hit its tuning target, so they had to tweak player damage elsewhere, or it's all a question of what part of the equation in Mythic grade do they want to tweak.
Sure.
Because if if corruptions were across the board half the value they all are right now, you'd be looking at 10k less player damage when we get to Mythic grade. That means that has to mean less boss health. So it's just a question of where are they tweaking that formula of damage to boss health to kill, like bosses being killable, and why are they making those changes? Are they aware that they're affecting that particular formula? You know what I mean?
Well, obviously we don't know how the mythic numbers are going to be tuned, and things on the PTR
exactly.
are mostly overly HP spongy just to test mechanics. Heroic so far that we've gone through, have you 2 fully cleared yet? I know I have 4 N'Zoths to do tonight on normal and heroic, 2 on each. But
We've done 10 out of 12 normal heroic, and we're finishing tonight.
right there with me then, yeah.
Yeah.
We've been doing splits. I think we're at 11 out of 12 on 2 heroics.
Okay.
No, 1 heroic we're ahead, the other one we're behind. Yeah, we've got more heroics to do.
But I mean, heroic so far has been, it actually has been a breath of fresh air. I think the mechanics are simple and fun. We wiped the most on Zanish 8 times, 8 wipes. Everything else was like a 1, 2, 3 shot. Or we walk in and we oopsie pull the dog and we did it. But the HP values on Mythic are going to be interesting because can Blizzard or did or will they tune because there's no way they can. It's a weird topic to break down in my head. They cannot tune the raid encounters for 20 players with infinite stars or echoing void or gushing wound, right? There's no way, because the system is random. The items are random. But if they don't, then the bosses will be too easy because players are doing 60, 70, 80,000 DPS where they should only be doing 50 or 60,000 DPS, which is like the median, like high-end point right now around that 550-ish plus eye level. But once you add on infinite stars, it adds on 8k DPS, even on your healers, which I do believe Chris Potter and Method has a tier 3 infinite stars in his Holy Paladin, which he's maining for this tier. So even a healer spamming Judgment will still keep that stack going. And then when he pops wings and goes ham for the Holy Paladin DPS window, he's going to add that much more free damage on top of the fact that it's already a Holy Paladin. How can they tune for the RNG system of these number plateaus that are going to just like fly out? How do they? Because there's not a lot of them. Like,
yeah, that's kind of why I brought up that whole like player damage to boss health formula thing in the first place, because the top guilds are going to walk in fully loaded with the top corruption effects. It's going to happen. And they're gonna just slam through bosses at an astronomical rate unless they have a ridiculous amount of health or do a ridiculous amount of damage. Like there has to be a check somewhere. And if it's DPS, it's going to be a corruption wall. If it's not DPS, then everything, like almost every boss is going to be trivial. And so you saw this problem in Battle of Dazar'alor, when they gave everyone 3 more Azerite traits going into the raid. And then every boss was flopping over in like 2-3 minutes on Mythic, like 3-4 minutes. And it was way too fast. You know, the overwhelming feedback was that every boss was way too little health. And I feel like they got that tuning point wrong for that raid.
Some of it did. It felt like that's what's strange about an 8 boss raid versus a 12 boss raid. We're definitely going to feel a little Siege of Orgrimmar-ish, I think. Out of 12 bosses, I think what I've put forward, and what's mostly been back and forth agreed with when I've talked to Scripe a little bit, sort of prepping for the Race to World First, and there's like 5.5 of the 12 encounters where they don't know. The mythic versions of them may be ridiculous. Like Shadhar has nearly 260 million HP in a 30-man heroic raid. What if he just has like 400 million in a mythic raid?
Yeah. Tuning is going to be very weird this time around. I'm very scared for like the first 10 boss to just flop.
Yeah, it's true.
Like they cannot, like you said, they can't tune the content over like having, I don't know, like 23 infinite stars in the raid, which Method and Limit will have, because both of these guilds are buying BOEs on literally every server of their region. So they will have a huge amount of infinite stars and of every like good OP like corruption effects. They will have a lot of every one of them. So I will not be surprised if like I get home from work on the first day and Limit is like 9 out of 12 and they're working on like the 10th boss.
Right.
I will not be surprised at all if that's the case.
Yeah. So the show today is going to bounce back and forth between all these sort of topics here, with sort of the Havoc sprinkling on top, right? So a little bit ago, this Wowhead post came out. A little bit ago is that this came out, and it kept getting traction because this came out last year, but it was how the meta skews spec strength perception. This was a big collaboration that came up on Wowhead. And more recently, I've been looking back on this because this was made almost a year ago, and a lot of it still stands true to this day. I don't know if either of you, Kib, have you read this? Rusah, have you read this?
Yeah, I read
it last year when it came out.
Okay.
Yeah. But the concepts are eternal, basically, and that they go through in this. It's always going to be the case in a game like WoW that is so like known, basically.
Yeah.
it takes very little time for stuff to be figured out. So metas develop extremely fast.
But then, Kib, you're playing still a purple class, but you swapped a while ago to Warlock. However, as a full-on DPS spectrum, what are you considering going to Ny'alotha? What DPS classes and specs, both between ranged and melee, do you feel like the top guilds are going to prioritize? Is there, because that's the one caveat to this. You could say that, you know, hunters, according to Preach, and everyone keeps quoting Mike for this, damn it, hunters are bad in Ny'alotha. But if your hunter's got tier 2 or tier 3 infinite stars, who cares if you're playing a hunter? Right?
Yeah, well, corruption is kind of skewing that thing a little bit right now, but again, that's mostly a thing for like guilds like that are a little bit lower on the spectrum, because you know, limit and method again will just buy their way into infinite stars on as many pieces as they can on everyone as they can. So they'll get infinite stars on the purple classes. So that's basically that's your ace in the hole.
Right. But what classes are you particularly feeling is going to be the strong point for both ranged and melee?
Well, I'm the same old. Basically, class tuning hasn't really changed since last patch. So, you know, Warlock, Fire Mage, Havoc, Warriors are pretty good. Both specs, I think. I don't really touch Warrior much or look at them a lot, but I've heard people saying that both specs have like their thing that they do very good. Priests are good on progress. On heroic, they struggle a little bit right now because things just flops over.
Right.
But when Mythic comes around and they can get their cycles going, you'll see priests coming up again. Hunters are good. Like I wouldn't say that hunter's a bad class. I don't know how much like top guilds will stack them, but if you're anyone beside limit and method, like having a couple hunters in red is never a bad idea. Uh, Rogues are fine. They're not as good, I guess, anymore because Havoc is just ridiculous. So Rogue kind of took a step back. But that's basically the same suspects that you would expect, I guess.
Yeah, our rogue's playing a Fury Warrior this tier. We don't even have a rogue in the raid. But yeah, Rusah, where would you put that then? Are you in agreement? Just like a melee strictly standpoint, then are there gonna be any dark horses in the melee camp? People keep asking me because I'm playing Elemental this tier to sort of challenge myself and learn things as ranged. But they're like, are there a couple of bosses that enhancement's gonna pomp on? Are you gonna see Survival Hunter or something? What do you think?
I think that what made specs good last tier is going to make them good for the same reason this tier.
Okay.
A lot of the same strengths and scenarios that they can lean into sort of exist now. We saw basically no class changes whatsoever. You know, there may be some very minor changes that some specs got and maybe a number bump, but like nothing major to shake up the meta. I mean, we got very, 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 very little even Azerite tuning, let alone, you know, talent or class, you know, aura buffs. So really, it just boils down to what is the impact of more essences and corruptions, which affects most everyone about the same. You know, the classes that had really good essences are going to continue to have good essences. The classes that, you know, benefit really well from like damage procs like Demon Hunter are going to continue to do really well with a bunch of new damage procs. As far as dark horses, I mean, yeah, sure, you asked enhancement. I think there's a couple fights that, yeah, they're gonna do an insane amount of damage on. Would I take one into a top 10 progression guild? I mean, probably not unless they're like word up level player and stubborn and refuse to play anything else. I think the one melee that may actually see some viability is,
Strong
believe
word.
it or not, Feral Druid.
Ooh.
With the strength of balance right now and the I quote relative ease of spec switching to feral. There are a couple AoE fights where their ability to put out massive amounts of dot damage on mass targets very quickly could be very powerful. Good example is like Carapace. I don't know if they'll be mythic viable, but your ability to like dot up everything on both sides of the tentacle really quickly could be really good.
There's a couple of things. You bring up the tentacles. Were you talking about Undressed? Or
I'm talking about Carapace in phase one.
Carapace phase one.
Down.
That's a weird. I will have to see that tonight because you can't jump on top of the tentacle anymore. You have to like walk all the way around it. I guess there was some problem with the architecture. It was too easy. But the point that I've heard, at least, or discerned from Feral, is certain encounters, because of the balance form in cat form and their increased melee range, they actually on, say, for example, Il'gynoth, because of the mind control, you can't get within melee range really easily to help. But Feral Druids can hit a lot of those targets to help break them out of the mind control by staying further away than other melee can. That's beneficial. They also just passively will hit the other Bloods while also doing damage to the boss, because they'll just hit everything around them way farther than other melee are going to. So, I mean, yeah,
Yeah, but Il'gynoth is one of those fights where, while yes, a Feral Druid could do that, if that Feral Druid can play balance, it probably should.
Okay, that's fair. I wonder how that fight's going to be on Mythic anyway, though. I'm expecting some Will the Emperor style CC chains in those corners. I'm not letting the Bloods run free, but because that fight is just, we've all done it on Heroic. It's just, the Bloods are here. Kill them, I guess. It was a complete clown fiesta. So that brings me to predictions then for the Race to World First, before we get back into more things directly for Havoc then. And of course, if you haven't heard, I leave literally on Saturday. So this, I look like I'm actually paying attention right now. The title of this show has the 19th. That's when this episode was supposed to go live. We're recording it today due to the fact that Rutha was under the weather and we had other scheduling conflicts with other potential guests. So we're recording it today, but this is essentially the episode from that Sunday. But just so you have one before I leave. So I'll be going to the Race to World First, casting with everyone else that's going to be there for up to 2 weeks, maybe even longer. We'll see. But which bosses, we kind of just briefly got on it though. Specifically though, Kib, do you think what walls may happen in Ny'alotha? And the counterpoint to that, which bosses are you just looking forward to seeing during the race?
Hopefully the first wall is not gonna be a soccer boss, because if that starts to bug, then we'll be there for a couple hours, boys. But I don't know. I don't think they were gonna hit that much of a wall until Carapace, to be honest.
Oh wow.
Just because of the fact that corruption gear is so ridiculous. The DPS checks are going to be irrelevant with the amount of gear that they're able to stack, bearing all again that we don't have another like Fetid Devour scenario.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vexiona and Carapace are basically my bet for the wall. And Carapace, I'm kind of leaning on the wall because it's going to be super bugged when it comes out.
There were apparently, I don't know how specific this is, but parts of Carapace were changed before it went live, of course. And I was told parts of the N'Zoth encounter are removed. Well, I haven't done N'Zoth yet, so I don't know, based on the PTR footage. So there are definitely some changes. And we know, because the Dungeon Journal alludes to it, and because of data mining, that there is a secret, hidden, mythic-only phase for N'Zoth, unless that has been removed or changed, but we'll wait to find out. People are hoping for an extra...
I hope they don't remove it, because then the cinematic would be an even bigger letdown.
Well, that's the side note to that is hopefully that there is another, like an actual cinematic. The story will be the same, but is there something else after Mythic N'Zoth goes down? We'll find out in 2 weeks from now, somewhere in there. Rusah, counterpoint to that, unless you have a wall boss you want to throw in on, but which boss are you looking forward to as well? And can you speak to any potential degenerate stacking strats that may be deployed on certain encounters, like sub-rogues on Zool? Have you guys sort of figured out or the potential for bring X of this class on this boss and it'll trivialize blah? Is there anything like that we have so far in Ny'alotha?
I mean, just bring like 18 fire mages and just kill everything in every ad. I mean, realistically, as far as degenerate stacking strats, I don't think there's too much. I think that there are a couple bosses that have potential for just like, hey, no melee or as few melee as possible.
Right.
And that's pretty unfortunate. I think the obvious one is Il'gynoth with the limited amount of space. Some potential for that is with like Shadhar with the amount of stuff going on there. Yeah, it's hard to say. There's quite a few bosses that are pretty melee unfriendly, either with the amount of movement you have to do or just the amount of space or the mechanics that you can't help with. You're literally like Il'gynoth during the MC phases. I mean, I could throw out a stun and maybe I-beam someone, but otherwise I'm just tunneling the boss and not getting MC'd because there's nothing
Right.
I can do. So it's like that kind of fight. Like you're gonna see plenty of groups that are just like one demon hunter, maybe, and a warrior. So as far as bosses, I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to Raden 2.0. That looks like a really fun fight. And Il'gynoth, I'm looking forward to just because of how wild of a ride that's gonna be.
It's interesting how it's an encounter that is obviously it gets harder and harder each of the 4 phases you go through, but it's not one that is just like here's suddenly a rot phase where if you don't kill the boss in X seconds you're dead. It's the mechanics lead up to the soft to hard enrage. So it'll be funny to see how that works, right? You eventually run out of space if you don't do your I-beams properly. More and more of the blood of Il'gynoth will keep spawning. So it's a race to the finish. And that goes back to the previous topic. How much HP is the Kil'jaeden body of Il'gynoth going to have? And is that doable? They'll go drop to 2 healers, drop to 1 tank or something weird. Those are the fun parts that I'm looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, and you know that kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier. Is the tuning is a real worry. You know, fights are either going to be nearly impossible or they're just going to be a joke. It's just have to wait and see.
Let's see there. So walls, nothing really crazy. What are we looking forward to?
Can we talk about the amount of trash that is in this raid?
Do you guys have a different... I haven't thought it's that bad.
There's so much.
What? What do you mean not that bad?
You walk past a lot of it, and you just open part of the show with that you want to farm trash for BOEs anyway. So if there was less of it, there's less chance for that.
Yeah, well, I just need one pack a mob to do that.
Well, sure, but
you don't need 20 packs between every boss.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I thought the pacing was actually pretty good so far. I actually really enjoyed the romp down the heart of corruption to go down to Il'gynoth, because there's Shadhar and Drestagath and Il'gynoth, and it's all one spiral staircase. So you pull that, you pull like your biggest pack up first with all the garbage and you hero. And by the time you get to the bottom, Lust is back up, and you walk back up and you Shadhar, and you do Drestagath, and you do Il'gynoth, and you take the thing back up and it zoops you back up top. So it's sort of that, do a bunch of trash for 10, 15 minutes, then do boss, boss, boss. Or do some trash, boss, boss. Instead of, remember older raids where it was trash packs, boss, trash packs, boss, trash packs, boss. That was the whole raid. That's how Blizzard used to make raids. So now it's sort of interconnected. I thought it was actually pretty fine. And you can skip, we've shrouded past and walked past a bunch of stuff so far. It's been like, meh. Or just kill it for BOEs. Kill all of it.
Well, so I'm kind of worried about mythic trash. I know that's kind of a meme, but
well, okay.
you know, like some of those mobs are pretty nasty on heroic. They're just gonna take a long time. That and
The mini bosses
after
will.
2 months of doing it, it's just gonna be a bear.
You might have something there. That I'll give you that one. It's funny
Yeah.
how we
My biggest issue with it is that it's like right now it's like it's okay, it's whatever, but like once you get to farm, it's gonna take longer to kill the trash than killing the 12 bosses in your run, which is like why? Like
You think it'd be that bad?
Sign up the raid, not kill
I like the
trash.
layout of the instance, like you said, like the layout of how the boss are like structured and
Yeah.
like the zone in itself. I like it, but I'd remove half the trash and it'd be like perfect.
I would remove majority of the mobs, of the trash mobs that are inside boss arenas. I'm okay with the amount of trash moving to bosses, but then you get to the boss and there's like another 50 mobs in there you have to kill.
Mott's room is kind of stupid. Sure. That room was the weirdest one. I think that I mean, because like the Hive My room is like a whole bunch of bugs. It's like 2 big poles and you're there, right? So there's some rooms like that. But yeah, Mott's room is pretty dumb. Like Vexiona's trash is kind of, it's just teaching you mechanics. Yeah, it's wave based. It reminds me of I can't think of his name. The faceless one boss in Ulduar. It's almost the exact same thing. I want to say Mithrax, but it's not Mithrax. But same mob. Channel take me. Let me know.
Vizak?
Is it Vizax? General Vizax?
Yeah, I think that's.
It's the patrolling mobs and like the one like you kill the mobs and it's someone's the big guy and he walks towards you and you just thought, yeah, it's the same kind of thing. That's what I got feelings from that, yeah. Yeah. So I get you though. It's a little bit much. And I think none of us mentioned, I haven't cleared it yet. This is why I was like sort of, once you have the instance at Carapace, you had at least cleared the bridge once then, right? Kib, because you did Carapace already?
We haven't done Carapace.
Oh no, Rusah, you did Carapace, right?
Yeah, we did that.
So you've cleared the bridge.
Yeah.
We had a joke last night that this is going to be really annoying to clear after a while. So the strat was going to be whoever makes it to the bridge end gets to do the boss without dying. Just run. Just run. There's a lot on that bridge.
Does the winner win a BOE with infinite stars on it or something like that? Because otherwise I would just wait behind and just watch the show.
But if you're not killing the trash, you're not getting those BOEs, Kib.
Well, I mean, as long as you're in the raid, you can loot them.
Right now.
What, Rusah?
Kib's mind only operates in infinite stars right now.
Can we get a picture of his face? Just put the infinite star like icon on his forehead.
Stars in his eyeballs.
Or in his eyeball. Yep.
Just make a filter.
Like a Snapchat filter or something?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. That's pretty good. All right. Let's equip our tinfoil hats and steer this Bants bus back to Havoc for a closing topic that I've been asking every spec show so far. Shadowlands looms on the horizon. Kind of. It's like 8 to 10 months away. We're hoping for beta in like April and then a launch in September. We'll find out. Honestly, I'm kind of with Mike on the fact that if they just delay until like next year, like a year from now, like early 2021 for a really solid expansion, I'm okay with it. But I know the forums would be like, but Brian Halinka, the great unprunezor man himself, is coming back to the WoW combat team. His job is to work on the class and specs of the game. We got a little preview of that at BlizzCon, where they're trying to hone in on classes again and sort of hodgepodge all of your stuff into your class, and then obviously your flavors of your specs are where you define things. Now, Havoc only been out for, by the time Shadowlands comes out, 2 expansions. What the heck does this mean for Havoc Demon Hunters? Because all we really see is a couple of talents go by the wayside, like rest in peace Bloodlet. We've seen like an artifact trait go away, like Fury of the Illidari, which is like, you know, the poor man's soul capacitor, momentum actually ever being mathematically worth it. So what do you have a wish list of things that you hope Brian fine tunes? Are you hoping for something new, some iteration on the spec? Kib, do you have like a laundry list for Shadowlands?
I hope they bring back Bloodlet. I hope they delete like all the useless talents and they make new fun ones. That's basically it. I think everyone would agree with that.
You mean you don't like Dark Slash?
It's fine if they make it like do something, but in its current stance, no. Take it out. Take out Fell Mastery. Take out the stupid like ring talent that I forget the name of because that's how much I pay attention to that talent.
Wait,
Like no one plays that. Like no one
what?
uses it. Literally 0% player base uses these talents.
Oh, the ring. You mean Cycle of Hatred?
No.
Oh.
The what's it called? Insatiable Hunger. That one. See, no one knows what I'm talking about. It's literally the most useless talent in the game. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's pretty
you
bad.
mean the one that used to be the ring legendary?
The ring legendary, yeah.
Giants or whatever.
There it is, yeah. For
it
sure.
was good on the ring because the ring was like broken for half the expansion, but you know, the talent, not so much.
Yeah, because they're good. Okay, Rusah and I sort of touched on this barely when he was almost dying, so we talked for a little bit this past weekend. But I mean, you can Blind Fury, you can Demonic Appetite, you can Fellblade, you can Immolation Ore, you can Demon Blades, you can Trail of Ruin, you can Fell Barrage. All the DRs are good. All the survival ones. First Blood is sort of like the set and forget. I've tried talking about if Cycle of Hatred can ever work, and it's just too weak. It's just so bad. And Dark Slash is like a joke. What, Rusah?
The problem with the entire talent tree, quite literally the entire talent tree, is First Blood. It's too good, and it's too central to how Demon Hunter plays this expansion.
Right.
First Blood by itself is worth like 19-20% damage. If you strip away like all the essences, all the like, you go back to like BOD's times when like, hey, you know, everyone's damage is class damage, not a billion procs and stuff. First Blood is way too pivotal. It's just the most important thing in the entire talent tree. It's the most important thing in the entire toolkit.
It's in all three of the builds that Kib has in the.
Yeah, well, it's going to be in literally every build, and it's First Blood is the reason we're locked into demonic. First Blood's the reason we're locked into Trail of Ruin. Like, it's too good.
Yeah.
Am I saying it needs to be nerfed? No, I'm saying First Blood is the kind of talent that should have been a baseline aspect of the class in the first place, because Demon Hunter, Havoc Demon Hunter without it is missing. It's already a relatively simple spec, and I'm not saying that this makes it complex, but it gives it complexity in having a resource that you have to pull for.
Yep.
And that you have to track a cooldown. So it's like, it's a good button for the class that should be a baseline defining part of the spec. And that it's locked to a talent is the biggest sin on the entire talent tree. That if I see anything else on the talent tree change, I want to see that.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
I'd be down for demonic baseline as well if like they want to go in there, but like First Blood is the biggest offender. But demonic baseline could open up a lot of cool like possibilities.
Like Dark Slash is not bad. It's really not bad. You can get a lot of damage out of it. It's just not First Blood.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, you can do Dark Slash is funny. I think the only application that I've thought of that it would be really silly in PvP is if you actually stacked triple thirsting blades, walk up to someone, Dark Slash, hit them for half their health with one button. Well, it'd be two buttons at that point, but still.
Even rotationally on like a real encounter, like it's not bad, but it's just not like, you know, broken.
It's weird how both First Blood and Dark Slash are single target increasing talents, potentially could be single target increasing talents, but because of the Fury cost reduction and how First Blood feeds the rotation and Dark Slash doesn't do anything. It's the same thing rogues have. It's the exposed weakness or whatever that suddenly rogues have or whatever. It's the same kind of concept. It's a judgment window that Retribution Paladins have. It's Moral Strike, it's Warriors, it's freaking Siegebreaker or whatever it is, right? It's the same sort of window.
Yeah.
But forcing that into a class that never had one before, obviously it was an experiment. We'll see. I'm with you on the Bloodlet coming back, though. The Bloodlet build was a lot of fun. I think it was also probably way too good. That's probably why it was removed.
The legendary effects
It's
was
true.
helping it and like that, but like take Fell Mastery out, put Bloodlet in there, and tune that talent row so that, you know, single target you pick Trail, on 2-3 target you pick like Bloodlet, and on Mass AoE you pick Fell Barrage, and everyone's happy because now you have like a little thing you can change, and it like a little bit playstyle difference between encounter instead of just being like, you know, do this, put these Azerites on, and you're good to go forever.
Yeah. I'm also with you on the demonic being the baseline thing. I think if they made baseline demonic, though, they might revert I-Beam to like a 45-second or a 1-minute cooldown, though. If it was just a kit-defining thing, which is...
I mean,
Yeah.
they could do that and then make demonic just, hey, reduce the I-beam of the cooldown of I-beam by 50%, something like that. You know,
Yeah.
from 60 to 30. Boom, problem solved.
They have to buff momentum, or if they want to keep the momentum playstyle. I missed playing momentum in Bloodlet. That's where you played it, was momentum, Bloodlet, and Mythic Plus in Legion. That was the stuff. That was quite fun. But that was the bracer combination. That was extra bounces and extra damage or whatever on your glaives. That was the Master of the Glaive older version. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of synergies, basically.
Right. But you can't... I don't think I've played any other spec than demonic all BFA.
No, they're
There's
just
no
not
reason
worth
to
it.
have not to have. Very, very, very early in Uldir, if you are running the that Fell Rush Azerite trait, Unbound
Yeah,
Chaos,
the one that
before
got
they changed
removed,
it,
Unbound Chaos.
Oh.
there was that, but even then, you had too many issues with fight positioning for it to be playable.
Sure. How about a potentially contentious topic? I bring it up all the damn time. I am more okay with the raid buffs, int, fort, shout, whatever. Give us back Mark of the Wild. Who cares? I think there should be duality in all those. Like Warlock should have fort, Priest should have fort, and then you put Battle Shout on Paladins and Warriors, whatever, right? Int on Druids or on like Shaman and Mages. Sure, make a different flavor. But the 5% multiplicative physical damage and magic damage taken. Where are you guys on these? Rusah, I know you have to always factor these into math. Should they stay? Should they go? Yeet them or keep them?
The buffs are fine. I agree with you there. They're a nice little flavor. We have scrolls for almost as good. The debuffs serve absolutely no purpose in the game whatsoever. None. Like, they only serve a purpose of locking in parts of your comp. That's all it does.
Yeah.
There's no alternative to them. They should go. Like, there's what gameplay are we enhancing by them existing?
Nothing. Especially when you're considering that PvE armor still exists on PvE mobs. So all your physical damage is already reduced. Then you get to add in all those multiplicative math strings on what your physical armor versus your physical damage is going to be with the monk buff in there and K value. Yeah, all that crap, right? Just we didn't have any of this in Legion, and I don't remember anyone missing. I mean, I've heard people tell me they missed their fort, they missed their Mark of the Wild. That's why the buffs that you throw up on a group, it's fine. Kib, where you got on the buffs debuff situation?
The buffs is fine. The debuffs is like, eh. they could kind of like remedy the situation a little bit by having more specs being able to provide them, but there's just no need to have them in the first place. So I just remove them completely if it was just up to me. But if they want to keep them, at least like, I don't know, put it on like 3 specs, each of them or something like that.
Or giving engineers like a way to,
Yeah, or profession
I
as
don't
well,
know,
sure.
some sort of
Yeah,
debuff injector device.
multiple ways to get them basically.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of soapboxing a bit. That's the suggestion I had, is that you put the magic on a melee and you put the magic debuff on a predominantly ranged. So I said shaman should get it because 2 ranged specs and enhancements like a melee caster fundamentally. And then you put your physical damage debuff was on mostly melee because it's 2 melee specs, and obviously your Mistweaver is kind of a melee healer. Then you put it on also hunters because they're mostly a range spec. So you have that duality there. But then at that point, you always have it, and that's sort of the thing. Rusah, have you ever actually reverse engineered how much damage a mythic raid gets from these 2 debuffs? And how much it just critically hurts the raid group to not have one of them? It's awful. It's just...
Yeah, it's 5%.
Well, sure. But like a numerical amount, when you look at it, is gross because that's how the whole game is now tuned. So if you don't have, like, you only have 1 Demon Hunter. That's why I was locked into playing Demon Hunter for 2.5 tiers. We went through so many in my guild, like 4 or 5 came and went. The nights that I wasn't on, like, there were noticeable things where, like, okay, we push now, but it's like 6 to 8 seconds later, you make that push, which you don't get the right spell overlap then, and you're kidding about it because you just don't have...
At 20 DPS, it is an extra DPS player.
Right.
You know, if you assume you have 20 DPS players doing 50,000 damage for 1 million raid damage DPS, you know, 5% is another 50K. That's another player.
Yeah, it's wild. And I'm sure they probably did this to add more to the kits of monks and demon hunters because of the least played classes in the game, but they're also the newest. So I don't know what they expect. And that goes back and button hooks back to the beginning of the show again, where Havoc has probably one of the most complete kits in the entire game with virtually no weaknesses anywhere. Whereas others...
Besides being melee, but yeah.
Well, oh, come on.
But it's true. That's their only weakness.
They're pretty, they're pretty susceptible to being rooted.
Sure.
I mean, if we're splitting hairs here.
I mean, I guess that's true. Only thing that kills me in PvP on my Demon Hunter is like a root stun combo or the stupid druid toilet with the solar beam mass entangle. Oh, but that kills anyone, so it's not gonna kill only Havoc. Right? Yeah. But all right, anything else on the Shadowlands wish list? Maybe a little broader, not just Havoc specifically. Before we move on.
I'd like to see new
I don't...
meta forms.
Oh, what? Oh, like cosmetic.
Based on the different factions.
Oh, yeah. Why do Blood Elf and Night Elf meta look the same?
That's a good point. I mean,
okay.
Maybe something to do with demonic energy. It doesn't matter whether you're a Night or Blood Elf, but it would be interesting to see like maybe new wings or some of the different meta forms. It's Shadowlands, doesn't necessarily have to follow the laws, same physical laws. And we could some cool cosmetic stuff maybe.
It'd be nice if whenever you go into your meta would have the same color as the tattoos you have on your normal form too, you know, because that would kind of like fit.
Yeah, that came up on the Vengeance Demon Hunter show a couple of weeks ago now. That was one of the things they brought up, is that when they meta, because they don't jump, right? Vengeance meta is just like, they just roar. Why do all their tattoos change colors?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Havoc's the same. Like you can have like red tattoos, and when you meta, it's green.
Yeah.
Just little cosmetic stuff like that, and I don't know.
Could
Kill
be good.
Island Expedition is my other big one, but I think that's already done. So.
Yeah, we're not going to do islands next expansion. There's going to be farming Torghast all the time.
Highlands are an extremely popular piece of content right now. They might bring it back.
I mean, you meme when you say that, and I can see it in the eyeballs, but at the same time, you ask some of the guys that have actually been farming and chilling out in islands, and it's not terrible to them because it's who they're playing with, not the activity they're doing.
Well, yeah.
Which, as a game developer, the game developer's job is to trick players into doing the same thing over and over and not know they're doing the same thing over and over. So, thumbs up on that one then.
If we want to dig a little more, like
Mhm.
my ideal world would be a game where there's weekly caps, and that way they can buff how much every activity gives towards that weekly cap. So if you want to do keys, you just do keys and you cap your AP weekly with that. If you like islands, you just do islands. If you like pet battles, go do pet battles. If you like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but in a world where there's no caps, they need to have a hierarchy of like what gives what, and then you get things like islands is the best thing to do right now. So
Yeah.
go farm them, like it or not.
Fair. A couple different things we'll see. I mean, we don't, because the artifact power system in Shadowlands seems like it's all about just your soul bind. So, and they've already said, if you haven't heard this, that there is a weekly cap. There is the mandatory amount that you want to farm for every week through hopefully more than just Torghast. That was unknown at BlizzCon. And then after that, I don't know how they're going to do this in the system side of things, but you can keep farming more, but it'll not be for power gains towards your soul bind, towards your covenant. It would be towards cosmetic stuff like the armor sets you saw in the trailers, for example. It's sort of those things. So you'd have your Valor cap, and then after that, you're done. Essentially for your power gain. So as long as they
I was really happy when they announced that.
Yeah. So good things we
If they
first saw.
commit to that, great.
Right. But we all know about Activision Blizzard and their retention. So, all right. E-Jones can take a step aside if you need to. Grab a drink, grab a snack. What are you going to do? Run to the bio break real quick. I got a couple of minutes here to plug a few things in the mid-show break. After looking at the timer right now, it's weird. This is on a Thursday, and I have Raid tonight as well. So, of course, that's still going to be happening. If you missed the live show, of course, everything it gets archived over on YouTube. But what I neglected to say earlier today, of course, if you want to follow the show on YouTube and all the other side content that I pump out when I go to the events and things of that nature, and Mike and I are probably going to do some things at the Race to World First coming up, is the live show is also on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, and as of a couple of weeks ago now, also on Spotify. So if you want to listen to the podcast as a podcast, audio only form, then you just type in FinalBossTV, all one word, capital F, capital B, capital TV, into any of those fields, and you should be able to just plop up that podcast, and you can add it to your RSS feed or favorite it or whatever you want to do, and then you'll have it right there. If you do listen to the show on any of the audio only things, if there's a way to rate the shows or the episodes, that's a way to help the show stay visible on the platform. So if you're one of those audio only listeners and you want to slap those stars or whatever the like buttons are on those things, then feel free to do so. That would help me out. And I mean, sort of the same thing on YouTube, even though the like button is a sham now. You're basically just supposed to watch the whole dang video and then leave a comment. Apparently, it's engagement. But those are all there. Of course, it is the Demon Hunter show today, so I'm wearing a Fabelina piece of art, as I've worn this many times before, and it is slowly fading a little bit, but this shirt's like, gosh, now 2+ years old at least. But this is little Lil'idin with the old school Pandaren glaives. And if you would like to support the show, the stream, and everything in between in a physical sense, you can also do that with the links down below. We don't have a new design just yet. When I get back from the Race to World First, I will be tackling that for the next spring design. I'm hoping I can get Fabelina on to do in her style, to do a one for Wrathion, because we do have Anduin over here, and we've got the little queen, we've got Arthas, we got Lil'idin, we got the Eridar twins randomly, we got Jaden Kindi, we got Sylvanas down here. This all over print is definitely retiring when I get back home. We got the Battle Azerite Day shirt down here, a little Ragnaros action, but we'll probably do one for Wrathion when we get back home. But those are all there. These are the designs. You click on the art, and then you can go customize what you want to put it on. So you can do shirts, tank tops, hoodies, sweatshirts, a whole 9 yards, change your color, change your fabric. That is all what you can customize there. It's not just shirts. And you click on the shirt, you go one step deeper. There's Lil'FinaL right there as well if you would like to do so. And big shout out yet again to my sponsors for the show, and whatever I do now online is through Elgato and Corsair. If you're looking for any bits and bobs and pieces and parts for your upcoming builds, current builds, I am still working on this new studio that I'm in, the new room in my house. There is a ton left that I have to do and set up and work on and fiddle with, and I still have a lot more pieces that are sitting around waiting to be set up. So I will be working on the Stream Deck right there alone. I'm going to have my show all entirely controlled by a Stream Deck soon. But then Corsair just released, I do believe today, the new Scimitar RGB Elite, the Micro Your Macros mouse. The new mouse, the entire side paneling here is actually customizable to a degree. The side of it can slide based on where your thumb sits. But I've got a new headset I'm going to be working on, and I just got so much of this stuff all installed. I did like an 11-hour build stream a little while ago. If you want to go back and watch that, that's on a VOD here on the Twitch channel. But Corsair, I've been a fan of Corsair products even before I was partnered and sponsored by them. But if you want to support what I do here, and 10% off, free standard shipping, check the link down below and give it a perusal. That's actually my case right there. I think that might be the shorter one. But I have the, yeah, that's the 6100 series. I have the 680X, but very similar case than that one right there. But I've really enjoyed Corsair stuff for a long, long time. Just partnered with Scuff Gaming for controllers, and I've been told by at least one member of my community when they bought 2 of them back to back because they were real good. But they sent me that same mouse you just saw right there. And when I get back from Germany from the Race to World First, I will be testing this out on stream and see how it feels. Because I am the one, I have a claw grip. I hold the whole mouse with my whole damn hand. So I've always been very weary of the mice, and my headset wants to turn off. Quiet you. My headset, also Corsair, but it wants to auto shut down because I muted Discord. The MMO MOBA mice, I'm gonna give it a whirl and see how it feels. Right now I have the Glaive Pro right here, but we'll see how this goes when I get back. But if you want one of these, check them out down below. Supports what I do here on the stream. Keeps the show rolling. And if you have anything, you can join the tech channel in my Discord and share your stuff. Because people talk about that new stuff all the time. What's coming out new, drivers, graphics cards, whatever, new computer parts, PC things, all there. But those are links all down below if you're on YouTube, or of course right here on Twitch. But just so my headset stays turned on, we have some QA stuff here we can get through. I've got some canned questions. Kib, you good for a meme review?
Always.
Always.
Also talking about mouse.
Oh, what do you have?
It is a pretty good mouse that your show is showing off right now.
You use
been running.
Yeah, the
I've been
Scimitar,
using
right?
it for quite a while. Yep. It's not the new one, but very satisfied with it. So, very good mouse.
How many of the thumb keys do you use?
All of them.
All
Shift
12?
modifiers too.
Serious? Yeah. Oh, wow. Dang. All right.
Well, I mean, like, I have, like, mount up on, like, the 12th one, you know, like, just, like, random stuff like that. But, yes, I use all of them.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I use 10 for like mouse over focus stuff. You know, like just it's a little bit out of the way, but you don't focus mobs that often, so it's a good like just right there with the thumb. You know,
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool things you can do with having all those buttons at the thumb length, I guess.
Yeah. The weird thing about it I have here, because I have the Glaive, I almost always have my thumb like pressed against the side of my mouse, so I don't know how it would be to have buttons there. I'd have to learn how to hold my mouse differently, but I'm playing Elemental Shaman right now.
Don't really change much, to be honest. Your thumb just rests on the button, basically.
Yeah.
At least that's how I have mine. My thumb basically rests on like the 1 and the 4 key, if that makes sense, on the side.
Sure. Yeah, I'm looking at the box right now. to see where you're talking. Yeah. We'll see, because I'm playing Elemental Shaman like I've talked about a couple times, but I've run into a problem where, because I have the cloak on use effect soon, and I want to have a different trinket binding, and obviously essence binding, and depending on when I switch specs to have, so like Windrush Totem, and I have Ice Fury and Stormkeeper, and all the other different cooldowns you can have, I'm finding that I'm like 2 or 3 buttons short, even with 3.5 action bars. So I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know yet. But
Yeah, it's nice to bind all of the like utility stuff as well, like just like raid markers and stuff like that. You can. I have them bound with like shift modifiers on my buttons there, and
oh yeah, so you can drop raid
I
marker.
like. But it's a thing though that once you start using it and you get used to it, you can never get away from it afterwards. So beware.
Okay. Rusah,
So,
are you holding it together? You all good?
yep. Gucci.
What is your... I'm going to pull up my Discord here because they had some questions that were posed in my general chat. We're going to grab a couple of those here. But the first question I have in this segment is which appearance, because you're not even using them in any of your transmogs, I'm noticing. I think you maybe are in... No? Which Twin Blades of the Deceiver Legion artifact appearance is your
See, this is
favorite?
This is gonna be an awkward response
Uh-oh.
because I don't even have the Twin Blades of the Deceiver.
What? Wait, how? What?
So this Demon Hunter hit 110 the day before BFA launched,
Oh no.
and I leveled his Vengeance.
Dang.
Yeah, I switched to Demon Hunter because my guild at the time didn't have. We were moving into BFA. We didn't have one yet, so it was definitely a. Hey, we need a Demon Hunter. Oh, I guess I reroll. I got better level one.
Well, why haven't you gone back and done the quest and gotten them?
That's old stuff.
What that? I mean, it's cosmetic old stuff. You can do it whenever you want.
Yeah.
If you could pick one, then if you could have one right now, snap your fingers. Which one would you want?
Go back down to the Demon Touch one.
It's the PvP one.
Yeah, that one's pretty cool. That would be my favorite.
Yeah, I've had the Flame Reaper on, which is the Mage Tower, forever, because I have like a red and brown that I use the red one, and I have my full Druid transmog, which is the green one. So I haven't gotten the red one yet. Actually, I should, because this is the Rated Battlegrounds. I actually should have this one. I have to go see if the quest completed. And the purple ones I have for a purple transmog. So I've been using these forever. Kib, do you have a favorite?
The Deathwalker, the default Deathwalker one was the one I used a lot in Legion.
Balance of Power one or whatever it was, I think.
Forgot where it come from, but
Or this is
yeah,
the hidden one, maybe?
I think it is. Yeah, probably. I'm pretty sure it's the hidden one. Yeah.
I guess the Batwing.
But I used that one a lot when I was not in my meme transmog.
Wait, what is your quote-unquote meme transmog?
I could find it real quick. I'm sure I have a picture somewhere.
Oh, gosh. Well,
it's quite good.
Do you... Rusah, do you prefer the male or female metamorphosis form, and why?
I don't really have a preference, to be honest. I usually play female characters, so guess I prefer the female one. I think both of them look pretty cool. Like big, huge wings, stompy hooves, really big model. I think they both look pretty awesome.
Well, this
Here
is...
you go. That was me in Legion, basically.
All right. I mean, yeah.
I'd say if I had to say, I'd say I prefer the Vengeance meta over the Havoc one.
Oh, really? Well,
Vengeance meta looks cool.
the Vengeance one is weird. I think fundamentally because you lose your weapons, they just disappear forever. You just smack things with your big old demon hands. That's the weird part for me, but I get you. It's pretty good. I'm not gonna ask Kib that question because he's not even playing this right now. Haha. But if demon hunters could be other races in the game, Kib, do you have a race you would like to play as a demon hunter?
Whichever one has the better DPS ratio is my answer.
Stop.
Otherwise, probably Volpera because it annoys people that I'm Volpera on my Warlock right now, which is the only reason I did it. The 2 Hearthstone is pretty good though for going to Veil and stuff like that. But yeah, Volpera is going to be really good in Shadowlands because there's no well, they said that there wouldn't be any in the Torghast zone, so to get back to the tower quickly, Volpera is going to be quite good.
Well, what if they make the maw uncampable and you can't put your camp there as a Volpera?
Then my Warlock will go back to Troll.
Okay, that was quick. Yeah, that was quick. Do you have another race you'd like to play your Demon Hunter as, Rusah?
The unfortunate response is the same as Kib, whichever one has the best racial. But I think like Tauren Demon Hunter could be absolutely hilarious.
You could do that with Mr. Smite's Locket or whatever right now. So
yeah, I was about to hint towards that. Like, I'm rarely looking like my actual character when I'm raiding. Like, in between pulls, it's most people do that. In between pulls, you just go through your toy box and you see one that changes your appearance. You click on it and you do a pull with that one, and then you do it again next pull. And
I would say if a Goblin or a Volpera Demon Hunter in meta form was proportionally smaller in their meta, like their base forms, that would be fun. Yeah,
that would be funny to watch.
Yeah.
Okay.
You meta and then you're the same size as the Tauren in the raid. Yeah, that would be funny.
Or if you're a Tauren and you meta and you're just absolutely gigantic.
Okay.
Basically, just screwing with other people is our answer there.
Pretty much.
Okay. How about what changes do either of you think would be beneficial for the melee role as a whole going into Shadowlands? It's a bit of a broad one. If you have any like melee hopes, or just is it game design, or because that Ny'alotha is supposedly a very melee friendly raid, and as I only have 2 bosses left to do on heroic, and I could say that sure, why not bring? You still only going to bring like 5, 4, maybe. Except on Il'gynoth, you'll bring 1, maybe 2. But for the most part, I think that's fine. But what do you have any? I don't know. It's tough. Do you have any changes that would be beneficial for the role of a melee DPS player going into Shadowlands?
It's hard because, like, raid-wise, you'll always want range more just because of, like, having access to targets faster because you just stand there and you turn your character a little bit and you don't have to move. Like any like mechanic that puts like a zone somewhere, you don't really deal with it. But they need to like help melee out with something, like either like give melee like utility that's unique to them, which kind of is a thing already, but it's not enough. So I don't know. It's a hard one.
Okay. Do you have something, Rusah?
Yeah, I'd like to see a reduction in clutter in melee. Even with like very few, even if you only have like 2 melee on a fight, there's still a pile of like effects and pets and ground things and you name it. And you know, you can tweak your game settings all you want, but like if I want to play on if I want the game to look good, I should let the game look good, just if I still want to see the ground, you know what I mean?
I thought is it still in place that I know there's like the raid settings toggle and the general settings toggle for your your visuals. But I thought there wasn't was it the Legion thing or a Warlords thing where they were working on new architecture to be able to sort of squelch other players' spell effects. And then I thought that was sort of already on, but I'm pretty sure I just see everything still. I was doing Shadhar last night, and I lagged out a little bit at the start of the raid last night. A lot of people were complaining about lag after the maintenance yesterday. And I lagged out for a couple of moments as I was moving away from the breath on Shadhar. I kept moving, but I died of the breath because I wasn't obviously moving. And then, like, every spell effect I could imagine, because it buffers up, went all over the place. So I'm pretty sure I see everyone else's everything.
Yeah. All the corruption stuff is visible by everyone, which is a big issue right now. Because a lot of them have, like, gigantic effects.
Right.
Like, you get a couple Twilight Devastation proccing and,
the
like...
beam.
Yeah, goodbye.
Yeah.
And that's even after, like, one clear, like, the Lash of the Void, like, the little tentacles that spawn, like... They drop from raid weapons, so like every single person that can use it will have it like in a couple weeks, and then like your tanks are just gonna sidestep left and right because they'll think it's like a boss mechanic that's attacking them, but
Yeah,
it's just melee like hitting things with their tentacles. So I remember like the squelching that you mentioned in Legion, but they need to go like they need to like quadruple down on that if they want like melee to be able to see stuff, basically.
it depends on the boss, right? Because a fight like Il'gynoth, where he's a turret, or Drestagath, not that bad. But then you go to Xanesh, and you lose track of her model in all of the stuff because she's just a regular kind of like humanoid-sized boss. She's kind of larger, but yeah, you lose track of the entire boss, her hitbox, potentially where things are placed around. She puts the little eyeballs in the ground, and depending on what kind of, if you've got like Demonology Warlocks or Beastmaster Hunters in there too, and all their pets and all their stuff all jump around, all the crap, a little much. That's a good one, Risa. Yeah, it's a good one. I don't know how much you guys have been following this right now. Hopefully Kib's been following this a little more closely because of his Wowhead involvement, but we will see. Is there going to be a hierarchy so far on what you think the best Havoc Demon Hunter Covenant will be in Shadowlands?
Ooh, I mean, I kind of looked at them up like really quickly, but
yeah, and
kind of had like initial thoughts, but that was basically it. And I had initial thoughts back then, but I forgot all about it. So, I usually don't look things up that in advance anyway, because like it's gonna change like 300 times by the time it goes live. So
sure, it's a tough one.
But,
I think a lot of people were saying that the damage Covenant spell won't be the deciding factor. The mobility spells will be.
Yeah, it depends how they tune it, obviously, as is with everything. Like,
right,
if each of them have like options that fulfill most of the scenarios you'll encounter, like, because in each covenant you have 3 soul binds, so assuming that they do things in the way that they usually do them, you'll have like a soul bind that's like single target, you'll have one that's like AoE, and you'll have one that's like something. So assuming you have like an AoE and a single target one, and that they're all kind of tuned relatively correctly, then obviously you'll just pick, the one that gives you the best mobility, aka the one that gives you stealth, so that you don't need rogues and Mythic Plus.
Wow.
It is what it is, but like it's the reality of the situation.
To compound off your meta form customization earlier, Rusa, do you right now have your wings glyphed on your Demon Hunter?
I do not.
Neither do I, but I. So you want your metaform glyphable, but you're not glyphing your wings?
I like the current wings.
Oh, you don't like the
I
weird
always use painted one on my DH, like the skeleton one, kind of looking one.
The Kerrigan kind of ones, yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
choosing
The
not
ones
to customize is a customization.
Sure. Sure. Okay.
I will say I have glyphed my souls.
Oh,
I have the glyph of mana touch souls because they're green and white and way easier to see for demonic appetite.
you know, I was told that probably a while ago that I should invest in that, and I just forgot. So that's a good. I mean, I'm not maining my Demon Hunter right now, but that is a good. That's a good one. They stand out a lot of the boss floors.
To caveat it from that, you don't really need to do that anymore because after 3 years, Blizzard made the combat log event for the soul spawning, so you can track it with a week aura now.
When did that happen?
True. They did do that.
It happened when 8.3 came out.
Oh, so literally last Tuesday.
Yep, it took them 3 years to do it. They removed it in the last beta patch of Legion, and they just brought it back. So, yay.
Still nice to be able to look around and see where they're at. Maybe you left one behind you or something.
Yep.
Very true. Lux Toast, thank you for the huge host, sir. I don't usually have live shows on Thursday. This is Sunday's show on Thursday, basically, due to scheduling. So we're sort of in the latter half of the show. If you have questions in chat, by the way, you can definitely chime in. So join in the conversation if you would like to. If you have any questions about Havoc or the Melee in the game currently. And this is a bit more, I'm going to ask both of you this one, but Rusah, because you already did this swap before, and this might be an easy canned question, so maybe a little more difficult for Kib, is that what Melee spec would you be playing right now if Havoc wasn't in the game? Would you just have stuck it out on your enhancement shaman?
I'd probably be a warrior or rogue. I mean, ultimately, I like raiding. I like having a raid spot, and for most of this expansion, enhancement has not been good for that conquest. So, if it was viable, I'd be playing that.
That's that word again.
It's a very good word.
Dirty word.
Do you have an answer to that, Kib? You've gone back and forth, but you're playing Warlock mostly right now. But do you have a melee you'd rather you play?
Yeah, I kind of swapped to Warlock when the Gohoon thing happened, and then, Warlock have been OP since, so.
Right.
But if I was melee, obviously DH would be the first pick, but second pick would probably be, in the current meta, it would be Warrior, most likely. Historically, Rogue. Just, because I was playing Rogue before I played DH. Before I played DH, I was like Rogue or Warlock here all the time.
Yeah.
And then, so I just go back to my roots probably.
Okay. There's I don't know if she's still here, but there's a turncoat in chat that many Death Knights may have mourned the loss of one of their own because Ketsu went from Death Knight to Demon Hunter herself. So I like how she kind of knew what I was talking about. Yep.
DK is not bad right now as well, but
Frost and Unholy are almost like fighting each other for spots. They're both good on either different encounters. You can play either one. Yeah, they're fine. Looking pretty good.
I just missed the runes.
That's what almost every DK show we've had. We just had the Blood DK show not too long ago. They want the old runes back. That's what you're alluding to?
Yeah. I usually always had a DK out back in the day, but when they changed the runes and I tried it in the beta in Legion, I was just like, nope, this is not a DK anymore, and I will not play this class.
Do either of you have... Rusah, you on this one first. What do you say if you ever responded to the question of, or the comments towards Demon Hunter needing a third spec, needing in air quotes?
I don't see too many people saying that, to be honest. It's the same kind of nonsense as like, oh, shamans need a tank spec. Like, it's nonsense. Is it strange that Blizzard had a bit of a departure and did a 2-spec class? Yeah.
We have a 4-spec class, though.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that one's a bit of a just legacy decision,
Sure.
which is fair. Yeah. What would the third DH spec be? Just another melee? A ranged DPS, like a warden thing? I don't know. Like, what would it be? What purpose would it fill in the game? Like, what's the point?
People want apparently like a fell caster, but then it would just be destruction warlock. So what's the point? Exactly.
Just play warlock at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I've seen a couple like like Reddit posts where people like make a new spec and they make like new abilities or whatever. But when you boil everything down, they're basically like talking about like demonology or like destruction or like an older version of either of those specs. And they just like, yeah, we want that for the third spec of Havoc. But it's like, it's just an old spec that you just changed the name on the abilities. Like,
yeah, if you go caster, you're getting way too close to warlock. It'd have to be like physical, ranged, or melee, or just nothing for it to be.
Yep. And how about you post this here, and you had the show notes for a couple of days. I don't know if you have any prepared for this one, but Kib, you might have one off the top of your head. Rusah, you might have to dig one up, even though we talk about a couple on the show today. Is there a recent World of Warcraft May that has actually had you, quote unquote, laughing out loud? Oh, yours is... Oh, okay. I mean, I did just say recent meme, not WoW meme. You're totally right. What is this? Okay. I remember this up on stream. This is pretty good. Only some people might get this, but that's what Rusah gave me right now. That's pretty...
This is the Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah. Is there actually a bell in the game?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And you can take it.
That's pretty good. There's been some pretty fantastic stuff coming out of that game. I respect that. Kib, do you have one? Chat, where's your memes? Share them up.
I'm pretty much on the Twitter bandwagon these days. So, the whole like method versus limit with like boss mod add-on stuff that came out was pretty entertaining to watch.
Oh,
and then there's all the, the corruption memes and whatnot.
Right. Well, yeah. Rusah, can you post the sim picture real quick in our chat that I can pull up just so for context from earlier in the show? The fake real sim of the green sword.
I can link to the raid boss log in a sec. I have it on my Twitter.
Oh, you do? Yeah. Meme review. Yeah. Look at this thing. Let me pull this up on screen for chat. This is the real sim fake sword. Yeah, training sword of the quick blade. It's a stand-in weapon, but they slapped infinite stars on this sword. And yeah, what eye level was the other sword they had in here? Was it 460?
440 and 435.
Oh, okay.
There's a raid bot logs if you want. You can see the actual items on it.
Oh! It's like a real Okay.
Yeah. I got the real thing.
The real thing. Okay.
But that one is a good 8 out of 10, I would say.
Yeah, so 440 Gateku and a 435 jeweled sword. So on the weapons. And
there's a guy in Limit as well that did it on his actual warrior that had like 460 weapons and it was still better.
Oh yeah, this isn't even showing the whole picture because that's just a main hand swap. It looks like he didn't even look at the offhand. If you were to swap that in the offhand, which is even lower item level. Yeah, this Raybot sim was low effort. This could have been even more memey.
Yeah.
I mean, if they want to do something like ridiculous like that, they could have just put 2 infinite stars on the weapon too and just go like ham.
Sure.
Well, I mean, within reason.
Yeah. I saw that and just I really thought I've been seeing a couple different logs linked to me about infinite stars, and I think that's the meme right now that's gonna be remembered in this patch, because I thought all this corrupted effect stuff, like the secondary stats, would give you a good boost depending on which ones you get. Obviously, these survivability ones are going to be incredibly niche or degenerate in PvP or for tanks. And I thought the proc ones would be like trinkets, like 3, 4, 5% of your damage, that extra little bump, like an extra trinket being on a piece of gear, like the weapon proc. We just talked about Getiku as well, just the the cut sword, the proc. It's those kind of like extra little bits of damage that you can customize and slot into your gear. But nope. I had a blood DK in my chat last night that has infinite stars on his gear, and because obviously a tank deals less sort of overall damage, his infinite stars with 34% of his damage on his Shadhar parse last night.
There's
We
some
have
Voids memes as well, parse-wise, right now
So,
going
yeah.
out.
We have a Mistweaver that has 2 tier 3 infinite stars pieces. He's just lucky.
Can he even wear
And
them?
At the same time, I don't think so.
Because they're 50 each, right? Is that 50 corruption for tier?
75.
Oh, 75 for tier.
75 for the tier 3, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's possible. You can only have like 38 minus corruption right now or something. So
Well,
yeah, that's
I mean,
Yeah, but I mean on
can wear
Shadhar,
them.
so he did pretty light DPS. He cast maybe 40 abilities into the boss as a Mistweaver, and Infinite Star still did 4 million damage. Like, so he did like 30k overall for very light DPS. It's insane.
just some random crackling J lightnings.
No, I mean some Tiger Palms and Blackout
Sure.
Kicks and stuff.
That's still, man. It's actually it's this. I think it's the scariest on healers and tanks, because their damage, like Holy Paladins, Discipline Priests, they can do some damage, right? Some tanks.
Well, tanks specifically because they have an AP multiplier.
It's true. They do in their mastery. That's right. Yeah. And a lot of tanks stack verse, which also contributes to infinite stars.
Yep.
And
I mean, it's very simple right now. Any spec in the game that you are and you get an infinite star, your best stats are haste and verse. Even if they're normally your worst stat, haste and verse become your best stat if you have infinite star, because it's that ridiculous.
It's too much. That's the meme right there.
Yeah, because Havoc Mastery needed to be 40% of other stats already. Just make it worse.
Oh no.
Is Havoc Mastery, you might know better than me, Kib. Is Havoc Mastery the worst mastery in the game right now?
If it's not, it's very close to being the best at being the worst. Which
Elementals is pretty bad.
Everything else about Havoc is the best at everything, so their mastery is the best at being the worst one, right?
Good. That is a great perspective.
I hate that. But I mean, Elemental's mastery is pretty shit. So that's pretty down there. Unfortunately, because it used to be like the shining light of how that spec was fun. Getting duplicated spells, Netherwind procs from vanilla. But nope, it's pretty bad. I don't know. Chat can chime in maybe on masteries that are bad.
I mean, mastery as a stat is kind of like weird right now. I don't know what you guys think about it, but I'd be down to gut it out, you know? A lot of people would gut out verse first, but I can see a reason why verse is a stat, but mastery, it's kind of like...
I think mastery is fine as long as spec abilities are the focus of your damage. Like the route that they've taken in BFA with making vast majorities of your damage, be random procs or damage events, that mastery don't affect almost across the board.
Yeah.
Like mastery was a good stat for almost everybody at the beginning of the expansion in Uldir, when literally all your damage was your damage.
It's true.
But it's not anymore. Now it's like half of my damage on my breakdown is like actually my abilities.
Yep.
Yeah. If they keep going with that model of like damage, I don't know. They should remove it, but then like we'll have 3 stats and people are going to be like, why do we have only 3 stats? And I don't know. Just remove all the stats on the gear, then you fix the main stat scaling issue that they've tried to fix for like 20 years now.
Get rid of
That's probably gonna
Mastery,
get
bring
fixed.
back Multi-Strike.
Ah,
Multi-strike, yeah, that was a good one.
multi-strike is just crit different.
Yep.
It's not a
Glorified crit, but we
Stop.
like crit, so.
I mean,
Well, I mean, multi-strike was nice because some spec had interactions with it, but for specs that had no multi-strike interaction, it was just basically glorified crit.
yeah.
But a couple of specs had nice interactions with it.
One of those specs were Elemental Shaman, Frost Mage, Holy Priest,
Windwalker had
Sub-Rogue.
procs on it too.
Sub-Rogue, Windwalker
Like
Rogue,
it gave
yeah.
them a.
Gosh, can you? I mean, I know that the game right now is always gets into the mud as you get to the last tier of it with all the different systems that layer on top of each other. But if you go back to, I mean, just like Mop and Warlords to also see how many things you can get in the mud in, it's still just.
This might be the most muddy.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because all the trinket
Yeah,
procs.
It is the most muddy.
So trinkets,
by far, I think.
Azerite, passive damage
Yep.
sources, corrupted
Essences.
yeah.
The thing that doesn't help as well is that we've basically been farming AP for like 3 years straight now, so people are getting fed up with it too. So it makes like people have like a shorter fuse about basically every system that Blizzard comes out with.
Yeah.
Because like before, like Legion, you'd farm like your rep for the first 2 months of the expansion and you'd be done basically because you're exalted with everyone.
Mhm.
But now like every tier, go farm AP for like 3 months of like doing all the AP world quest every day.
Right.
Like it gets a toll on everyone. Like yeah. Hopefully Shadowlands will fix that, but we'll see.
Potentially right now there is no AP in Shadowlands, so we'll see. But we're at about that time right now. I don't know about that. Ny'alotha says in chat, will this expansion go down as the worst Blizzard has done? The first year of it? Potentially. But I don't know if the whole expansion.
I think it depends when you ask the question, the
Yeah.
answer is going to change. If you ask it like next year, most people would say yes. But if you ask it like, 3-4 years from now, it might change because we'll have another expansion in between that.
Yep.
Well, people, regardless of how the expansion goes, people tend to think back more favorably than they did during it. Like,
Right.
Warlords during it got a lot of flack. But most people
Yep.
thinking back on it are like, man, I love Warlords. What happened?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I mean, I was talking with like some people, and Ketsuki was one of them about that. But like, I don't think BFA is a bad expansion necessarily. It's just that the systems
yeah.
were like implemented weirdly, and some were like just flat out bad, and stuff like. And then that just gives you a bad taste in the mouth, and then it taints everything to look worse than it is. But like the raids have been pretty good, and
Yeah.
like the raids have been really good the past 2 expansions. But if you ask people, they're like the worst expansions because, and then you ask them why, and they're like, well, the AP grind is awful, and now they're like farming islands is stupid, and the systems are broken. But yeah, so just if you just do like 1 or 2 tweaks and basically the last 2 expansions, I think they could be the best 2 expansions. But obviously you'd have to do those tweaks. So
Like the two big things, the 2 tweaks in that line was it should be a legendary acquisition and Azerite acquisition.
Yep.
Because those were both RNG random. You couldn't really get a lot of them. You couldn't make RPG loot decisions. Did you get them? I don't know.
Yep.
But so how about
basically
that?
the casino play style is not good.
Right. It's almost like people want some sort of agency in their RPG. Who'd have thunk? Yeah. How about we're at that time. So some closing shout outs, remarks, soapbox, moratoriums, anything you want to take a few moments and leave the guests with that are listening or here right now in live chat. But Rusah, do you got anything you want to close with?
I mean, nothing specific. Like, I think this will be a fun tier. I'm excited for Ny'alotha.
Yeah. Oh, that's it.
Yep, that's it.
Oh, Short and sweet to the point. Fair enough. No moratoriums you want to put on from people that ask or say things in Discord?
I mean, not really. I mean,
Okay.
it's a good time to be a demon hunter. Like, despite the complaints that we have, here would be my soapbox. Despite any complaints people have, demon hunters have had it pretty good. There's halfway decent, talent diversity with the first 3 tiers.
Mm-hmm.
Azeroth availability has been pretty generous.
Yep.
Sorry, locked in raid spot. I mean, we do a lot of damage. It's a good time to be a demon hunter.
It's definitely true. Wait, what Ketsu said, it's not the demon hunters are great and amazing. It's the majority of everything else is bland and unoptimized.
Sure, I could agree with that, but from this perspective.
Kib, how about you? Soapbox.
Well, Soapbox, I check out Wowheads for class guides. All of them are being worked on actively for a couple weeks. Put 1 star on every class beside Havoc and 5 star on Havoc. That way I look better. Just enjoy the game. Don't try to focus on the positive stuff that you can control. Try not to loom too much because you don't have an infinite star, But yeah, I think the raid's going to be pretty good. Fights are interesting, and be a purple class is basically how you win at this game. No matter which one it is, just be a purple class.
What if you're one of the colors that makes purple?
Not purple.
Not purple.
Dang it.
If you're purple, you win, and then if you're a color that mixed with purple, you're kind of almost there, but not quite.
Find yourself a DK, merge together, become a demon hunter, and then you'll be purple.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I did it for 2.5 tiers. It's time to challenge myself and see how everyone's like, everything is so much better if you're a ranged class in raids right now. So I'm gonna do a whole freaking tiers ranged and see how that works. And
I have one more thing as well, since it's been happening in the EU realms. I will not mention it because it's bad, but do not exploit. Wait for beta to come around to do exploits, because then you can report them and you won't get in trouble for doing it. Don't exploit on live.
I may know what you're referring to, but we're not gonna bring it up directly.
Helm, shoulder, and chest. Yeah.
Pardon? All right, hitting this button then, chat. Thank you for tuning in to a Sunday show on a Thursday, as the lower third still says it's the 19th, because this is when the show was supposed to happen, but we had to record it today because of sickness and scheduling and madness and 8.3 and raids, but at least we have the ability to talk about Ny'alotha after it's come out. So, around the table again, Rusah was here, still recovering from the flu sickness. You can go poke him in Discord at the same name. And how are you going to be involved in BGG's POVs for the Race to World First, or are you just going to be in the roster doing things?
I'll probably just be focusing on, playing and not screwing up, and not let streaming be a distraction.
Awesome. I look forward to seeing what you guys do in the big day raid push. Are you ready for that next Tuesday?
I sure hope so. I'm not ready right now, but I'm really hoping I'm better by Tuesday.
Are you guys doing 80 next or no?
No. No.
Fair enough, sir. Well, I appreciate you sitting down on the show today. Glad we got to do this after you've mostly recovered. And then...
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun.
Oh, yeah. This guy over here. The and then. Kib's on Twitter. He posts stuff. _Kib0. Some of it is useful. Most of it is garbage. Is that pretty much accurate?
Yeah. But I mean, shitposts bring a lot of engagement, so you gotta keep up the trends,
Did you see my pseudo shitpost yesterday? the ring that I got in Mechagon. Did you see that crap? Chat, did you see this? Oh, I'm gonna bring it up now. And I gotta look at this. Chat, what happened? What did I get? I got this last night. I put on the 415 non-socketed version of the other side, the logic loop. It's like a solid 440-ish DPS. This haste is up all the time. This is free. I got that last night. Don't hate me. But Kib, thank you for being on the show. It's been a while. I don't think we've been on the show together since Legion, right? You were on one for that.
Yeah, Legion was the last one. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Do some beta stuff here in a little bit, maybe when Shadowlands starts.
Yeah, I'll start streaming again when I get access to Shadowlands beta, and we'll do all of the exploits.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I made remember my clickbait video from Legion Demon Hunter where you could fly forever and everyone's like, "What is this?" Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what beta's for, right? You just go in there and you break the game, and you're rewarded for it by like the devs listening to you, maybe.
Well, I mean, hopefully, maybe yes, that's the goal.
That's the intent, at least.
That's that then. Again, shout out to my patrons over on the show's Patreon page for supporting the show, the stream, and everything in between. Without you, there'd be a whole lot less FinalBossTV. A lot, if not all of your support goes to art. So if you're seeing all the thumbnails, you have your... If you are in the avatar tier, you are getting your avatars very soon. I have seen the draft, so they have some cleanup to be done, but they are on their way soon. And if you want to lock in one of those Teutron avatar faces of your face or your character's face, then go check out Patreon for that. And again, I will be at the Race to World First, hosted by Method at the Take TV Arena in Krefeld, Germany. I leave Saturday evening. I'll be gone for 2 weeks. There'll be some streams when I'm on location, but you can definitely check me out on the couch, along with all these other beautiful nerds that will also be there, as well as the slew of POVs we have. It's 24-hour coverage, 7 days a week for 2 weeks or more. Lots of POVs we have around the clock from the NA, EU, Oceanic, and the Asian servers. There's a whole slew of them. Check out method.gg for the actual news post if you would like to check that out. We'll see you, of course, there. But we're going to get out of here. Thank you all for tuning in today. Episode number 100. Not 100. 200. There's been a lot more of these than my brain likes to process sometimes. The first 70 or so don't exist. That's what's going on. 209 for Havoc and the 8.3 Melee. I'll do World First, World Second shows when we get back from Race World First. And then we have Discipline Priest and Brewmaster Monk sometime when I get home. But until then, everybody. Wait, Kib. Wait. Yeah, there we go. Dab on him. Dab
I'm
on him.
lagging because Vexiona's broken.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
It's true.